Welcome back on Newsmaker. Our next guest ushered in the first company dedicated to fighting wildland fires from the air. We have all seen the incredible tanker drops that either contain these fires by dropping lines of retardant around them, or they attack a fire early and snuff it out before it can really take off. Burl Shears is the founder of Western Pilot Service, WPS. I appreciate you coming on, Beryl. This topic fascinates me because we watch this time and time again during wildfire season, and those planes are such a potent weapon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I would like to clarify we weren't the first in aerial firefighting, but using the smaller agricultural type aircraft as opposed to the larger aircraft that you see.
Yeah. Okay, so Burl, tell me a little bit of how you do what you do. When a call comes out to you guys that you've got to get in there and try to knock a fire down, are you thinking about knocking it down, or are you thinking about putting line out there to stop its advance?
It depends on the tactics that are decided by the supervisor, the incident commander on the ground, the air tactical group supervisor who's in an aircraft overhead circling about 1,500 feet over the fire. We may go direct, and they will tell us if that's what they want, knock the fire down in front of a crew. So a direct attack is with either the red fire retardant or some kind of a water enhancing agent that's in the water.
Okay, so when that call comes out, we see a phalanx of planes involved. You've got a lead plane. We call it on the air the spotter plane, but you call it what?
Well, it is officially the Air Tactical Group Supervisor that has a pilot and a government person in there that is trained to help manage the fire from the air. The lead plane is the second airplane on the fire, and they're a low-level aircraft that actually tests the air, tests the drop, and leads in the heavy air tankers, the large air tankers. You'll see them right out in front of it with two airplanes in formation. They occasionally lead us if we would like to have it or they think it's necessary. But when they're on scene, they are testing the area, the geography, looking for hazards, that type of thing, and then will either show us where they want us to drop or lead the aircraft in for the drop.
How big of a deal was it, Burl, to go and graduate from, I think you guys were flying old DC-3s. The old tankers were really old planes, and now you've got jets. You've got basically a DC-10 coming in with a huge amount of retardant that it can drop. But it's tricky flying those kind of aircraft at low altitude, right?
Right, it is. And the large air tankers and the very large air tankers provide a very important part of this aerial firefighting. What we provide are the smaller aircraft, right. 800 gallons of capacity, but fly much lower, closer to the urban interface. You'll see this is, I believe, a DC-10 dropping here, and that was taken from one of our aircraft waiting their turn to drop. So he's working very close to the edge of the fire.
Oh man, look at that.
This is our aircraft dropping. They're right behind him, and he filled in a gap between two of the retardant lines.
That may have been the one out, boy, I'm trying to think. That was out in the East Valley.
Yes,
it looks
about
like
2 years ago.
Yes, I remember this fire, but what a vantage point to see it like this. How dangerous is this? How dangerous is this work, Burl?
We mitigate the danger through training. Anytime you're flying low level in the mountains, in the heat of the day, with the smoke, and there is a certain amount of risk. But like any fireman, we mitigate that risk through training and the control of the operation that's going on.
I mean, he looks like he's, that looks to me like maybe 500 feet off the deck from those peaks.
Well, from this airplane our target altitude is 80 feet above the
80 feet.
vegetation.
Wow.
So our low floor is 60 feet,
Oh my
and
goodness.
100 feet is too high for these airplanes.
Oh,
So,
no kidding. So you guys have
Yep.
really got to get down on the deck. I thought that was
That's
an
right.
optical illusion.
With these airplanes, we're down very low. The large air tankers are about 200 feet, 250, and we're dropping at 100 to between 60 and 100.
Now, why would they call in you guys with the smaller aircraft versus the big tanker? What would be the kind of defining characteristic of the fire that you would go this route?
It can be in the deeper canyons. It can be to help fill in a gap if the large air tankers maybe leave some gaps, or if we leave gaps. But these airplanes are usually stationed in more areas. There's about 80 of them in the United States. So a lot of times we're closer to the fire. In the desert fires, they work really well and we get there quickly.
Are you guys on standby in Arizona right now? Are you free to say?
Yes, no, we are. Arizona State Forestry sponsors 2 of our aircraft right now in Marana, and they've been flying the last week or so fairly regularly. We have 2 airplanes that are with the Department of Interior Bureau of Land Management in Safford, Arizona, 2 in Silver City, New Mexico, and 2 are getting ready to go to Roswell at the end of this week.
Burl, has the tactic changed? Because something I've noticed in recent years, sometimes when these fires break out in a fairly populated area, they're moving air assets in quicker than I remember and actually trying to snuff the fire out early. Am I imagining this, or is this a change in tactic?
I believe it's a change in tactics. There are more aerial resources, and we're using retardant, I believe, sooner, and especially around the urban interface.
Can you snuff out a fire with a retardant drop?
You can. The problem is if there's any area that it doesn't completely put the fire out, it's going to reignite. So you need ground firefighters to put that fire out. You slow it down with a retardant, and occasionally you put it completely out, or it might go out overnight, but they have to be there to know for sure and put the fire.
It seems that we have, in the firefighting world, we spend a lot of time protecting homes. You know, this is a big debate. The fires aren't necessarily getting worse, but people have moved into fire areas, and this creates a lot of problems.
It does. And as a city expands, as Phoenix or any of any urban interface, the perimeter of that city gets bigger, so you actually have more and more interface
Yes.
than you had in prior years, because it's just a bigger perimeter.
When you look at kind of how tactics have changed, the pilots who do this kind of work, where do you get them from?
We have pilots from all areas of aviation. We have a few that are retired fighter pilots. We have
Wow.
Agricultural pilots. I have one pilot that retired from FedEx, flying large aircraft across the Pacific.
That's interesting. These guys apparently like a little bit of a thrill.
They do.
And since you're a pilot, you know about this.
Excuse me, mostly type A personalities in this business.
Right, I'm sure. Can you describe here in the last couple of minutes where we're going from here? Do you think that we're going to see drones start to do this kind of work?
I think we will eventually, but even the small aircraft, our small aircraft are 16,000-pound airplanes. So they lose half their weight in 2.5 seconds. So it's going to be a while till we have drones with that capability, and the capability to make quick decisions as you're approaching the fire, as you're coming down a hillside, as you saw from some of those prior videos, John.
That footage is just amazing. Thank you for that. Burl Shears, founder of Western Pilot Service. Great to see you and continued good work. And everyone who watches this stuff or has a home in harm's way, they thank you. I assure you of that.
Thank you for having me.
Great to see you, Burl. Thank you. We'll have you back
Great.
as well. We're back in a minute on Newsmaker.